right. I am here as the bearer of bad news. If you haven't heard this yet, but you probably have since it's all over the internet, Elden Ring is delayed. And this would be bad enough as it is for those people who are wanting to play Elden Ring, because it is a month delay from January 22nd to late February. So, month delay, not like the worst thing we've ever heard. It did seem pretty unusual that Elden Ring was going to be out this quickly in the first place, I think, because people thought maybe it was further behind in development, but it does seem like they just sort of waited a long time to show footage from it, and they still really haven't shown all that much from it, but they are keeping things kind of under wraps. The really bad news for my little section of the community here is that it is delayed to February 25th, 2022. And that is just 3 days after February 22nd, 22nd, which is when The Witch Queen comes out, the giant Destiny 2 expansion that we have all been waiting well over a year for, and this season alone is 6 months long, which ends when that launches on February 22nd. This is an additional problem because even before this was already a truly nutty window of releases for, depending on what your interests are, but I had this written down here. We have Horizon Forbidden West, February 18th. So that's just 4 days before Witch Queen. And I guess you can probably jam in that game before then, depending on how long it is. But that is going to be a little bit of a sprint. So, it's Sony, so I'm not banking on getting a review code. But I will do my best with it, with the retail version. And then we have Witch Queen on February 22nd. We also have that good-looking martial arts game, Sifu, that comes out the 22nd, which is, not a huge game or something, but it's still something that looked interesting. And then we have Saints Row, the new kind of reboot that I am certainly interested in, because I love Saints Row, and even though I don't know what to exactly expect from this game, I'm certainly interested in it. So that is 3 days after Witch Queen, and now that shares a release date with Elden Ring on the 25th. So this is crazy. This is a crazier week than anything we are seeing in this fall holiday season, I think, because at least this holiday season, we have big games coming out, but they're all pretty spread out. We have Far Cry, Guardians of the Galaxy, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Forza, Halo, but all of these are not like directly on top of each other. Like they are at least spread out by a solid week for the most part. One annoying thing happening is that Halo Infinite launches I think a day after the Bungie Destiny 2 20 or 30th anniversary thing. So that's mildly annoying, but generally speaking, it's not really, a huge amount of overlap for most games. But that week in February is truly insane, and there's been some manner of debate online already where people that are heavily interested in both Elden Ring and Destiny are kind of hoping one or the other gets delayed again. Witch Queen has already been delayed, obviously. It has been delayed out of the, quote, usual window where normally in past years we would have seen this expansion in September. We are already on a bit of a delayed schedule because Beyond Light was delayed, and now we've sort of been pushed to this early 2022 schedule, which seems like it's probably going to be the main thing going forward. Am I sweating again? Yeah, is that what it is? But it would be a little tough to see it being delayed again. I guess they could push it 2 weeks or something to get out of that exact kind of crazy window. This is a live service game though, so they kind of have this stuff mapped out ahead of time, whereas other games might be a little more flexible. Horizon Forbidden West is an interesting thing because that was supposed to be a big holiday release for Sony, and it was kind of a high-profile delay into next year, whereas Sony doesn't really have a high-profile release other than maybe Deathloop, which is technically a Microsoft game, which came out earlier, but I don't know if they want to delay that any further, but I suppose it's possible. Saints Row probably has the least to lose delaying itself, because if I were Saints Row and I was trying to mount a comeback or reboot of a series that's been gone for that long, I would not want to plant it in the middle of those, 3 other huge games / expansions. That just seems like a horrible idea. I would delay that game until sometime in March, if not later, and take the extra time to polish. Lord knows you can always spend more time on games. The main showdown, the Witch Queen versus Elden Ring idea, I don't know if we can rule out that Elden Ring could be delayed again, because we are 4 or 5 months out from that, and that's still a window where they could be like, you know, actually, we need even more time than that. Um, it seems like it's potentially possible, but I know that they were not really caring about going up against Witch Queen. I'm sure that didn't really even cross their mind, but I also know that Bungie's probably waking up today and being like, that's not great. But they have so much marketing tied to the Survive the Truth that they picked the 2/22/22 date, which is so memorable. I don't think they're going to want to lose that. So maybe they are hoping that these groups are disparate enough, because obviously these are really, really different genres of game. Like, obviously, you know, Destiny has some RPG elements to it, but not to the extent as Elden Ring. I personally am not really like Souls person, so this specific thing does not affect me. I was probably gonna, you know, try Elden Ring, but I'm not like a day one was gonna, you know, play Elden Ring right away type of player. Like, that's something I would probably get to eventually. I've still never fully played through a Souls game. I played all through Bloodborne, which was fun / exhausting, but this is not really my genre. So for me personally, this isn't as big of a deal as what the situation already was with Horizon and Saints Row. That to me is more of the questionable thing, but this obviously doesn't help. It seems like something is going to have to give here, because having these 4 releases within 1 week, they are all contained within 1 week, the 18th through the 25th. It's too much. And Saints Row seems like the most obvious one to kind of just get the hell out of there. But I really don't see either Witch Queen or Elden Ring moving, I don't think, just as a way to get away from each other. I would be surprised if either did. I would say Horizon would be more likely to skedaddle out of there, or, you know, maybe launch a week earlier than they were planning, depending on how far along they are, or potentially be delayed to March. I don't have the full release of like March games in front of me, but the only one I know for sure is Tiny Tina Wonderlands, which I'm looking forward to, but I recognize that's not exactly the biggest game in the world. I have to look what else is out in March, but I don't think anything nearly as crazy as February. So March, April, that could be a better window for some of these games if they wanted to push even further. But pretty much all of these games, except Saints Row, have been delayed already, pretty significantly and pretty notably. So it's a little questionable whether, you know, we're already trying to goad them into a second delay when they just, you know, maybe want to hit a certain release window. I think the financial year ends sometime in March, so some of these games may be trying to get out before then to, you know, be on the books for that year or whatever. So we'll see. But this is a tough situation. I don't know how some people are going to handle it. What will take priority over what? You know, with the Witch Queen at least, I guess with the live service aspect of it, like, yes, obviously the Witch Queen will have a campaign, but, you know, how long do you really think the Witch Queen's campaign is going to be? Like, in terms of what you can play right at launch. You know, a good, you know, a couple of days probably, but I bet you can get through the Witch Queen campaign in a pretty short amount of time before Elden Ring comes out. The question would be, when the raid shows up, like, would you have to be crazy power grinding for a solid week to get up to the level to do a world's first raid attempt, like that following weekend or whenever it's going to be? It might not be till later in the season or something, but obviously we know that Destiny content is kind of drip fed, so it may be the case where, you know, well, there is some stuff crammed right at launch. A good amount of it will be kind of like either like a play at your own pace thing, if you're like building weapons to craft or exploring the area or whatever. But also that, you know, there's probably going to be a roadmap for the season where every week for the first few weeks or every couple of weeks, there's going to be kind of major events that happen with the storyline. And we're just pretty far from the days where everything is crammed into, like, you know, day one launch of a Destiny expansion. So I think that is maybe the saving grace for it, where the release of that will be theoretically spread out over a period of time, rather than, you know, you're not going to be able to finish Witch Queen in 3 days or something, or you might be able to do that before Elden Ring comes. So that to me is something I can see as potential salvation, no pun intended, that Elden Ring players might not necessarily have to pick and choose if they can kind of front load whatever you can play initially with Witch Queen and then move on to Elden Ring for a bit, and then go back to Witch Queen, the following Tuesday for some stuff at Reset. I guess it depends how much you care about like grinding for World's First attempt at the raid and when that launches, and some other things that we don't know yet. So some things are up in the air. I don't see Witch Queen being delayed again from that date. I think they have really heavily tied their marketing into that specific date, and it would be hard to move it. And I do think I'm right in what I'm saying about like you still should be able to play a substantive amount of Witch Queen in those first few days there before Elden Ring, and maybe be able to balance both of them. Although Elden Ring is no doubt like a 100-hour game easily, depending on what you're doing, just based on how those games usually go. So it's not great, certainly, but in that crowded window of 4 major plus Sifu games, I can see some of those running away, but probably not Elden Ring and probably not Witch Queen. So we will see. I don't love this news. Like, I don't think it's good for anybody, but it may not be the end of the world in practice. So I guess we'll just have to see what Witch Queen is going to roll out when, and if there are any more delays in the future, and if any of these games get out of this window. Because I'm more worried about finishing Horizon Forbidden West in time for Witch Queen than I would be finishing Witch Queen in time for Elden Ring, because Horizon will be like all released at launch, and that's probably at least a 50-60 hour game. And I don't think I can do that in 3 days. That's a whole other thing. And then Saints Row is just going to be like, I wasn't going to play it. Like, as much as I want to play it, I was going to wait a couple weeks, a month. So I just hope that one's delayed, and we'll see what happens. But this is obviously not going to be the last delay we hear about, but that window is way too tight now, and something's got to give there. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.